Hello and welcome back to the Top Shelf Literary Editions. This is episode 91, and we're going through my top 10 favorite books. We're taking a little bit of a deeper dive with these, not so much as, histories and author bios, but just a little longer look at what we're going through, or what is currently now my top 10 favorite books of all time. If you saw episode 50, you know what they are already, but I thought I'd take a little bit more time to discuss each of them, more than I did in that episode. And I hope you did enjoy episode 90. That was a long one in the making. It started out as a regular blog post, but I expanded it and added some visuals to it. It was called Pulling Down a Statue on Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee. So if you missed that, it's on the channel. My name is Ernest Whiteman III. I'm a Northern Ramapo filmmaker, artist, writer, and media educator, and we're taking a look at the top shelf of my book collection. I have a pre-selected book. I'll give you a short synopsis, a review, and the reason why I purchased the book, or why it's become one of my top 10 favorite books. And we're starting out this last 10 episodes, culminating in episode 100 with Reading Alone for Thousands of Miles on the Three Kingdoms. So take a look. Please look forward to that if you are interested in that. But today we're starting with book number 10 in my top 10 list. Thomas Harris's Red Dragon. And the reason why I'm actually using the books that are from my collection rather than buying new ones. But this one I've had since I've lived in Wyoming. The first time I encountered this book was with the film Michael Mann's Manhunter. Is what turned me on into looking into the book. And of course I got into Manhunter because I had heard it was a quasi prequel to Silence of the Lambs, which was a huge movie and book at the time in the early 90s. And of course the character of Dr. Hannibal Lecter became a pop culture sensation, and I was interested in looking up the book that sort of originated the character, but also I was more interested in the dealings of Will Graham, the character that is mentioned in Silence of the Lambs but is never mentioned in the movie. I think because they were trying to make them separate things. But if you don't know the story of the Red Dragon, it's basically a introduction to behavioral sciences, and the character of Will Graham is brought out of retirement to help find and capture the character deemed the Tooth Fairy, because he takes a bite out of his victims. And of course Jack Crawford, the director of behavioral sciences, has to coax him out because of a previous incident where Graham actually captured Hannibal Lecter, and that left him in such a disarrayed mental state that he checked himself into a mental hospital and thusly retired after that, after capturing a record 3 serial killers. And one of them, I believe he actually killed in the process of capture. And all of that is dredged up because immediately he has to go visit Hannibal Lecter to sort of regain this insight that he preternaturally has of being able to think like a serial killer. Now it's called profiling, but I think what Thomas Harris makes clear in this book, and this is what basically is the crux of the mental conflict within Graham, is that it isn't so much looking at the patterns and then building a profile. He's actually able to step into the minds of a serial killer and actually envision what they envision, and thereby being able to sort of determine preternaturally, I'm using that word again, the next victim. And that's sort of what Jack Crawford wants to use him for, and he knows that Jack Crawford wants to use him for this. And so it becomes a race against time of, because there is on a lunar cycle, which means he kills every full moon, which means he has like exactly 4 weeks or a month to sort of figure out what the pattern is. And what this does is that it goes a lot into Francis Dolarhyde's background, how he was raised, and sort of what led him into wanting to become something grand and supernatural, like the Red Dragon. And it has to do with a painting, and I forget right offhand the painting, the Red Dragon and the Woman Cloaked in the Sun, I believe it is, but I forget who the artist is. And he sees that, and he decides that he wants to become the Red Dragon. It's a great book. I've read Silence of the Lambs, and I've read Hannibal, and I've read Hannibal Rising, and I thought that the character of Hannibal Lecter becoming very popular sort of was a huge detriment to the series. I think it's better when somebody is on the outside looking at Lecter rather than trying to explain who Hannibal Lecter is, because that's what made him such a great villain. That's what made his evil so calculated and precise. But to explain him away is to sort of do the Anakin Skywalker treatment on him. But Red Dragon, I think, while Manhunter was a good adaptation, I don't think there has been a great adaptation of this. I have not seen the Hannibal series, but I think they play more with Graham's mental state than they do in the movies. So I might need to check those out. But the fact that Will Graham thinks like a serial killer, I think, is what Thomas Harris was, and that's what sort of Lecter sort of needles him with. Is like, I think a line from both the book and the films is that you smell yourself, if you want to sort of gain the scent back of tracking serial killers. And that's what makes it scary, is that mentally Will Graham doesn't know what he's going to do when he finds this character. And I think it's an inspiration for Dexter, sort of that serial killer who kills serial killers. And I think that was sort of like the next logical step of what Will Graham could have become. But Will Graham, of course, comes to a very not mortal end, but a very sad end, if you read Silence of the Lambs. And the reason why I purchased this book off one of those buy 10 books for a penny thing, and that's why it's not up to snuff in its binding. And it's just, you can tell it's a really off-center reprint. The jacket was like almost like a photocopy, but the story contained, no matter what the printing, was a really strong story, and I enjoyed it. And it's remained one of my top 10 books for a long time, mainly because I enjoyed the interplay between Graham and Lecter, and the idea that somebody could slip so easily into an evil, but he's doing everything he can to try to stop that. But he needs that very thing to stop further evil from somebody else. Even so, I tried to adapt it into a stage play. When I was running with a theater group at one point, I thought this would make a really good stage play. And the way I wrote stage plays at the time was I just pulled the dialogue from the books and rearranged it into a 3-act structure. But again, one of my favorite all-time books. I have a lot of these notes and bookmarks and sticky notes, because there's so many good pieces of dialogue and character moments in it that I really was trying to adapt it into a stage play. And I think I used part of this for one of my very first student films. That's how much I really enjoyed the Red Dragon, or Red Dragon. So those are the reasons. There's the synopsis, and my review of this is it's a strong criminal thriller. It's a really good, well-handled horror thriller. Thomas Harris created some indelible characters. I mean, just at look how quickly Hannibal Lecter caught on. I think Will Graham is sort of overlooked in the canon of Thomas Harris's Lecter books, but I'm glad that he was included in the Hannibal series. And I'm actually looking forward to the Clarice series that's coming out very soon at the time of this recording. So I would recommend it. What did you think of it? Tell me down below. If you didn't like it, tell me exactly why. If it's problematic, tell me that too. I'm really interested in hearing in ways that this could be problematic, or why it's not considered a good thriller or a good story. I'm just really very interested in that, and it'll expand my thinking, and it'll maybe change my perspective on it. But for now, it sits at number 10 on my top 10 favorite books of all time. So Red Dragon by Thomas Harris is on the top shelf for today. Stay tuned for episode 92, number 9, The Last Temptation of Christ. Until then, thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time.